The statistics for youth or leaders of tomorrow in the country who are between the age of 10 to 24 are, as at the 2006 general census, constitute 33.1% of the population. That's about 44.4 million. In Nigeria today, the population or the size has risen to about 60.1 and is estimated by the National Bureau of Statistics to be at an exponential rise of about 73.1 in 2020. Now, stating matter of factly, the effectiveness can be deemed as the competency of a program or a project for the duration of this essay. On my first issue, let us look at the sustainability of programs. Nigeria is a place where there are many projects and many programs that are put in place. However, these programs are not to be known to be very effective. This is known for the fact that they are handled by the other people in the society. Let us take, for example, rural development programs that have been put in place in some areas in the country. Funds are given and disseminated to the other people in the society. However, they are siphoned, and this leads to the program going into extinction or not being effectively administrated. However, if the youths are put in the helm of the affairs, due to their large number, it will bring about effective development. And if these programs are effectively affect the youth positively, it will imply that the United Nations Development Program has been deemed successful because the youths at the helm of affairs has been affected positively. Therefore, it is not the administration or the creation establishment of this project, but it is the implementation by the youths that are effective, because the other generation has siphoned and they have siphoned and have been able to confidently, without oppression, take away the effectiveness of the United States Development Program. Youth vibrance. As youths, we are still very vibrant people. And if the development programs and projects are structured towards the youth, it will bring about the effectiveness of these programs, because they have the zeal, the willpower, even the physical strength to carry out these programs. Take, for example, programs that are structured towards education or agriculture. You cannot give an old man agricultural programs to do because he does not have the strength to do it. But as a vibrant youth who still have age and zeal on his side, these programs will be deemed effective because they will affect the youth positively. And if they affect the youth positively, it has affected the nation positively, because the youths constitute, according to the National Bureau of Statistics, they constitute about 60.1% of the general population. This refers to people below the age of 35. Moving on to another point, the competitiveness among youth brings about development. If you throw in a program or a project from the UNDP that is structured or geared towards the youth, there is that tendency of competition amongst them, and this competition will help to bring about development in the Nigerian sector, because the youths will all struggle for the scarce resources in the economy, or the scarce resources that have been provided by this project. And when they struggle for it, the competition amongst them will bring about development, because if I and you were given the equal amount of funds to bring about development, I may struggle to overdo you, and when you see me struggling, you may also struggle to overdo me, and this will bring about exponential rise and increase in development of the program. Also, the assurance of a secured future for these youth also brings about the effectiveness of these programs, because Nigeria today is a state where the elders and the leaders have managed to siphon all the funds. We suffer economic instability, political instability. There are scarce of natural resources due to the fact that the available natural resources these corrupt practices have been siphoned by the leaders. However, the programs by the UNDP geared towards the youth will help to secure a future where there is hope for the Nigerian youth. And if the Nigerian youth has hope, the program of the UNDP will be deemed effective, and if the project is deemed effective, the UNDP is deemed effective. Let us look at Nigeria, for example. We run an ochlocratic government where it is leadership by the older people in the government. A gerontocratic government, where it's leadership by the old people in society. However, if the youths are effectively conscientized through programs of the UNDP, it will help to bring about a vibrant government or a political sector that will be devoid of political instability, and that will be effective to bring about development in society. And if such a project helps achieve such a feat, the UNDP will be deemed effective. Coming to the issue of violence, provision of employment, and poverty eradication and reduction. In 2014, the UNDP brought about a program known as the YEP, Youth Empowerment Program. This program provided $100,000 to help in the provision of employment for the Nigerian youth, and also it has helped to bring about education and literacy in Nigeria, for people of the Niger Delta. And the people about 150 people that were engaged in this program have been able to effectively, about 70% of them have been able to effectively employed. Train up a child in the way he should grow so that when he is old, he will not depart from it. This drives us to the point of education. If the UNDP, the most effective project of the UNDP is the UBE, the Universal Basic Education, and this has brought about girl child education. It has brought about the rise of literacy level of students from 61.0% to about 90 or 80% in Nigeria. Therefore, let me leave you with this question. If you don't invest in the leaders of tomorrow, will you have a tomorrow? It is with this point that I have been able to effectively establish that it is until the youths or the leaders of tomorrow are put at the helm of affairs of the UNDP, the United Nations Development Program, that they will be deemed effective. Because it is not the leaders of today, but the leaders of tomorrow that matter. It is not now. Let us look into the bright future and see what it waits for us. Thank you very
much. Good day, Mr. Chairman, timekeepers, panel of judges, distinguished audience, and my fellow students. My name is Michael Garba of the Turkish English Studies Turkish University, and I'm here to oppose the motion that the UNDP, hereafter known as UNDP, in Nigeria can only be judged effectively when its projects can only be judged effectively when its projects are invested in the leaders of tomorrow. Now, first and foremost, I'd like to start by explaining who are the leaders of tomorrow. The leaders of tomorrow are children. I'm sorry to say, but the leaders of tomorrow, by all definition, we call children. They are in nursery school, primary school, and junior secondary school. They are the ones that we as adults actually care for. We pave the way for them. We are there to support them, to teach them, and to guide them into the future. So therefore, we as the adults are the ones that are actually taking care of all their situations for them. They are still learning how to become adults, how to be members of society in the tomorrow of which we actually all progressively seek. And I'd like to validate this with several points. Firstly, through the use of the UNDP, through its investments in agriculture, and through its collaboration in amnesty with the Niger Delta crisis, and also through its fighting to curb the corruption in Nigeria today. I'd like to start with its investment in agriculture, because its simple investment in agriculture helps to do three things. It helps to boost the agriculture sector. It helps to boost the economy, and it also helps with employment of the people in the agricultural sector. And once all these three things happen, therefore the agricultural system actually grows. The future is secured for the youth, or these children that we're actually talking of. Secondly, I'd like to go over to the Niger Delta amnesty. The UNDP helps to secure funds and funding with the amnesty. And this amnesty helps to prevent issues that happen tomorrow. These issues, like that of the fuel bunkering and the attacks in the Niger Delta, they actually help to stop the future in terms of leaders of tomorrow actually joining and becoming militant in the future. So once the UNDP actually helps with amnesty to secure peace in the Niger Delta crisis, it actually stops future militants being indoctrinated into militancy. I'd actually like to end with my third, which is the corruption. The corruption has plagued Africa and Nigeria since our independence for many years. Corruption is a plague, it is a disease that is eating at the heart of our society. Now, what this does for the leaders of tomorrow, it only just indoctrinates them once again into a diffused and corruptible pattern that will not only be very much disastrous for the whole of Nigeria, but it will actually continue this chain of events consistently throughout our entire lives until we can actually curb all these problems within ourselves now, as of today. What we do today really does matter. There is a famous saying, I think it's an Igbo saying, that actually says that if the mother goat eats grass, I think the billy goats will continue to eat the grass as well. Now, if the mother goat goes to eat KFC, which I'm sure some of you enjoy, that baby goat is going to eat KFC. I can assure you of that. Now, all these changes, if they are implemented within what we do today and how we change our future for tomorrow, it can only be a good thing. So I'd like to say that the United Nations Development Program can only make sense, and it can't be effectively judged towards issues of tomorrow. It has to start today.
Good day, Mr. Chairman. Good day, panel of judges, team from Turkish Nile, and members of the audience. My name is Joshua Marie Wesu, and I am a representative of Veritas University. We are in support of the motion. My first point is that the UNDP has programs in place for HIV prevention, HIV treatment. This is one of its Millennium Goals. This is one of the Millennium Goals of the UN, and it has helped because the UN know that ignorance is not bliss, and so they direct the programs to the youth, and they are helping the youth with sex education. They are teaching about abstinence, and they're giving free contraceptives and all those things that help prevent the spread of HIV. This has worked because in the pregnant youths, the rate of HIV infection has gone down from 5.8% in 2001 to 4.2% in 2008. Also, in malaria prevention, they have given 72 million insecticide-treated nets to children, and this has helped to prevent children from having malaria. The percentage of children not being infected by not dying of malaria has increased by times 2 from 2008 to 2009. Also, availability of youths for the implementation of UNDP programs. This is all about the youths are more available for the implementation of UNDP programs because they are not weighed down by family responsibilities. They are not weighed down by having to feed the kids or having to worry about how to put food on the table. And so their minds are more freer to they are more disposed to these UNDP programs. They are better than, so the UNDP programs to these youths will be more effective. You have the case of the UN volunteer programs where 62% of the volunteers were youths because, again, the youths are more free, they're more disposed to these programs. Moral development. The UNDP can help in moral development of the youths. The leaders of yesterday and the leaders of today have left this nation with corruption, have left this nation with corruption, and as Nigeria is still one of the most corrupt countries in the world. But with these UNDP programs being tailored towards the youth, this means that the youth will know not only to make the future better for themselves, but also for the generation that's coming after them. The youths are more receptive to positive change because they are not they have open minds, which means that they're more able to receive the new ideas of the UNDP. They are against anti-developmental mindsets like patriarchy, like tribalism, and so UNDP projects geared towards these youths are more effective. Also, the youth are the future. This is illustrated with the event of World Youth Day that happens every 2 years, where the youths are gathered to be taught about the faith and to be uplifted and in fellowship. This is another proof that UNDP projects geared towards youths is more effective, because it's because once the old generation of now has gone, it's the youths that remain to carry on the nation. So, Mr. Chairman, panel of judges, my dear audience, I leave you with this. The youth are the guarantee of the nation. No youths, no nation. Thank you.
Well, first of all, can there be a tomorrow without today? If my father or my parents had died some 10 years ago, if they were not well invested in, if they were not educated, if efforts to train them, to groom them were not successful, would there be a me today? First of all, I would like to render honor to whom it is due by reading the high table. Good evening, Mr. Chairman, panel of judges, timekeeper, moderator, co-debaters, distinguished audience. I am Olamide, and I'm standing here vociferously and vehemently to oppose the motion that for the United Nations Development Program to be adjudged effective. For the United Nations Program to be adjudged effective, it has to be invested on leaders of tomorrow. First of all, who are the leaders of tomorrow? Leaders of tomorrow, as the first speaker earlier said, are students or children in nursery, primary, and secondary institutions. These are the ones who are not saddled with responsibility of government and duties, who look up to the adults for training, who look up to the adults as role models, who look up to the adults for guidance. Secondly, I would like to talk about health sector of the countries, health sector of our countries who will not be well developed. We need people who have expertise, people who have experience, people who are wise in age, in expertise, sophisticated techniques to combat the realities of life, not just the leaders of tomorrow, the leaders of today. If there are no leaders of today, obviously there will be no leaders of tomorrow. Also, some of the United Nations Development Program include good governance and peace building. What's governance? Governance is the activity of controlling and directing the affairs of a nation, company, or institution. That is the dictionary definition of governance. What is governance according to political scientists? Governance is all efficient organization and administration, judicious administration, in connection with the collective affairs of an organized human society, community, or police, which includes adults, which includes people who are leaders of today, people who have needs and preferences that the United Nations Development Program also adjusts. Peace building. United Nations Development Program also has to do with things like peace building, developing the peace of and infrastructure of other nations, so that even these leaders of tomorrow can live to see a suitable environment where the peace is sustained, whereby the lives of these ones is not curtailed, it's not shortened, so to speak. It's important to teach everyone peace studies and conflict resolution, because students naturally mimic adult behavior, starting with the teachers or educators in the school. For teachers, they are a major influence in a student's life as they carefully guide his or her education and watch over his daily interactions with other classmates, making sure that he grows as role models for students who are future leaders. We also know that by the research on human development by Eric Erickson, a sociologist scholar, youth are those from 20 to 40, not 1 to 35, like by opposite mentioned. And Eric's research also includes development in all areas of life. Youth, and from what we are seeing in Nigeria today, we also know that it does not just involve the leaders of tomorrow. It also has to start with the leaders of today, because we know that a certain Matthew Imbu was once Minister of Labour in this country, and he was 23. Yakubu Gowon was once leader of this country that we are, and he was 27 when he got that responsibility. So the leaders of tomorrow, it does not just include leaders of tomorrow. We have to start with today, what the leaders of today can give. For example, if you look at the Boko Haram sector, you find that it's leaders of today who are once leaders of tomorrow are the ones that encapsulate this, they are the ones that constitute this sector. If they are no ones to train these ones, these ones are not existing, then they will not have to use their margins in another sector as leaders of tomorrow. They will not have to go and train them to teach them terrorism. They will teach them what is right. And so it's on this motion that I draw the conclusion that if the United Nations program focus on more important things than the eradication of poverty, it will be addressed effectively. Thank you.
Good day, Mr. Chairman, the panel of judges, the team from Turkish Nile University, distinguished ladies and gentlemen. I'm Abuja Victor Atta from Veritas University. Pressing further our stand that unless the project of the United Nations Development Program in Nigeria is channeled towards the development of the leaders of tomorrow, it cannot be adjudged effective. To start with, I want us to know that the development we seek in Nigeria cannot just come today. We've been planning for it since yesterday, and we're still planning for it today, just for us to achieve it tomorrow. Therefore, the need for us to inculcate the leaders of tomorrow in this development process. Secondly, it's as a matter of primary objective for the United Nations Development Program to empower the youth. What is youth empowerment? Youth empowerment here is the attitudinal, structural, and cultural process by which young people are conscientized on their ability, the agency, and authority for them to take decisions into their hands to make their lives better and then the lives of other people, and in the long run to make society also better. If we don't make these youth who are the leaders of tomorrow better, if we don't conscientize them of the status quo today, how will they make tomorrow better? How can we be developed tomorrow? Ladies and gentlemen, can we find a better solution to that? No. More so. Also, one thing you should also know is that it is also as a matter of primary responsibility for the United Nations Development Program to embark on issues of environmental sustainability. Take, for instance, what is happening in the Niger Delta region of Nigeria. We all know that the crisis is happening there as a result of the decimation of environmental resources. But if adequate and appropriate measures are taken by agencies such as the United Nations Development Program in ensuring environmental sustainability in the Niger Delta region, the youth will embark on farming or fishing, and that will go in the long run to curb restiveness among the youth, and then in the long run also avoid them from participating in corruption. More so, what you also have to know is that the United Nations Development Program is not something that will just come and bring about development today. If it must be developed, we have to start it today for us to get it tomorrow. Therefore, we need to include the leaders of tomorrow who will anchor that development process and then move it further to our posterity. Thank you.
Good day, Mr. Chairman, panel of judges, accurate timekeeper, moderator, my co-debaters, distinguished ladies and gentlemen. I am Abdul Samad Mustafa of the Nigerian Turkish University Department of Political Science and International Relations, and I stand here before you today to oppose the notion that states the United Nations Development Program can only be adjudged effective when its projects are invested on the leaders of tomorrow. According to information by the website of the United Nations Development Program, the UNDP has supported development in key areas such as computation of GDPs, universities curricula, and human development, among others, in Nigeria and various countries. These programs apparently are targeted towards the leaders of today. Why? In order to ensure the security of the leaders of tomorrow. You can imagine if these programs were to be abolished, will there be a tomorrow for the so-called leaders of tomorrow to advance to? I doubt it. Therefore, empowering the leaders of tomorrow, of today in human development will inevitably impact greatly, and I mean it, greatly, on the training of the leaders of tomorrow. Because those who actually have the responsibility and are therefore suitable in training the leaders of tomorrow are the leaders of today. Likewise, the climatic change policy and response program and response strategy, of 2012 May, and the development of the national adaptation strategy and plan for action for climatic change by the United Nations Development Program are all programs to support all programs geared towards the redemption of threats to climate in different countries like Nigeria. The severe flooding of May 2012 in Nigeria has been the worst in 50 years. 50 years, quite tragic indeed. According to the National Bureau of Statistics, 7.1 million people were displaced and 436 people lost their lives in 31 out of 36 states. Thanks to the United Nations Development Programme in collaboration with the leaders of today, the National Emergency Management Agency, for tackling and salvaging us from these threats that really face our country. So it's all obvious. It's up to you. The leaders of today or the leaders of tomorrow? Leaders of today first.
By addressing the definition of leaders of tomorrow by the first speaker from Turkish now, he defined leaders of tomorrow as just the children and the babies. However, are you trying to imply that the youths are the leaders of today? Okay, I think you're putting it from a myopic point of view. You are subjecting it. The leaders of tomorrow extends beyond just children. They include also the youth in society, because apart from children and the youth, the others are adults and are the leaders of today. Therefore, even going by your own definition, if you say that the leaders of today, of tomorrow, are children, that means the leaders of today are adults and are directly responsible for children. Therefore, any project that is put in place by UNDP towards the adults is also directly affecting the children and bringing about development for the leaders of tomorrow. You also stated that the UNDP provided amnesty in the Niger Delta. The Niger Delta UNDP program was done through the Youth Empowerment Program, and this is structured towards the youth who are the leaders of tomorrow. Thank you for supporting us. We also brought about a point in agriculture. The elderly can't do agriculture. Our brothers supporting my point of the youth vibrance. Therefore, I thank you also for supporting us. Also, you have gone a long way to spread. I want to also address the issue that was brought about by the fourth speaker when he spoke on talking about flooding and other people. We're talking about the leaders of tomorrow. We're not talking about natural events. And even this flooding affected the leaders of tomorrow at the youth in society. Therefore, if the UNDP brings about a program that will cure or bring about or will provide remedies to this flooding, it will also be a plus on their side, because only when the strategies or projects of the UNDP are structured towards the development of the youth that they can be considered effective. Therefore, you are supported us too. Also, someone mentioned, the second speaker mentioned the problem of power. Power is in shambles today because of the leaders of today. And therefore, you should invest in the leaders of tomorrow to provide a cure or a solution to this problem. The second speaker also mentioned Gowon. Why did you fail to mention Obasanjo? You failed to mention Buhari. You failed to mention Shagari. You failed to mention Mugabe. These are leaders of today, and we all know the effects that they had in the country. Obasanjo was one of the people that instituted the Sitai syndrome. Babangida also instituted Sitai syndrome. If they continue being in government, when will you as a leader of tomorrow have the power or the right to be a leader? Moving on to the issue, I also want to lay credence to the statistics provided by my second speaker here when she spoke about AIDS and malaria. The projects of the UNDP in AIDS and malaria has gone a long way in affecting development, and therefore, these projects of theirs on the leaders of tomorrow has helped to secure a future of health for them, and therefore, they can be deemed efficient. These programs are directed towards them. That's why it's recommended that the projects of the UNDP should be directed towards the youth and not towards the rest. Also, you stated that the projects of the UNDP should be structured towards the leaders of today. The leaders of today have failed politically, economically, socially, historically, culturally, sociologically, in all spheres of life. Therefore, I think it's time that we start to focus on tomorrow to provide a cure and not still abiding on mistakes. I think that the UNDP should invest on a correction and not continue investing on mistakes. You stated that the government of today has brought about that the government of today brings about development in your assertions. However, this government, investing in the youth for tomorrow will provide intelligent leaders. intelligent leaders who will be able to bring about political stability, economic stability in the society. Because the old people in the society will continue to bring about their ideas. You can't keep doing the same thing over and over again and expecting different results. That, in its own sense, is not a very wise act. Going on, I want to also stress the fact that the second speaker, you mentioned examples of programs by the government, by the UN distance towards the leaders of today. However, you failed to mention programs such as UBE, YEP, that has gone long ways in effective development, and that's what's part of what lays credence to the credibility of the UNDP today, because those programs are stations towards the youth. Therefore, I'll ask you this question again. If you do not invest or direct your projects towards the leaders of tomorrow, will you have a tomorrow? Thank you very much.
Firstly, the first speaker mentioned youth being 35 to what? What did you say? Anyway, I don't think that is not true. Because firstly, it varies according to the context where you find yourself. And in all variations, there is nowhere where you'll find any from 35 and above. So that's an error. Please don't get it. Secondly, he said population of youth in Nigeria about 70-something%. What does that matter? Who is the president of Nigeria? Or let's even say the president-elect. Buhari, right? How old is he? Doesn't he have influence towards the young people here in Nigeria? Doesn't he? He does. So the population doesn't really matter. And then still on the first speaker, you mentioned zeal, willpower, agricultural manpower, please. The leaders of today, why would they engage in agricultural activities that require agricultural manpower? Aren't they giving them to the leaders of tomorrow? Aren't they the ones doing this? So please, it's not true. And then you said we have an autocratic government. Do I need to say anything concerning that? Autocratic government in Nigeria. I think that was the defect what I said. So. And it goes on. Anyway, we don't have an autocratic government in Nigeria, please. You did. You said autocratic government. So we don't. Anyway, the second speaker talked about nets, mosquito nets, for the leaders of tomorrow. Sorry. You see, firstly, when these mosquito nets are distributed, okay, parents get them and then they decide if children should use them or not. And I've seen parents that would say the chemicals on these mosquito nets will affect their children, so they can't use it. They have the influence, they can do that. In addition, these same mosquito nets, okay, even though the mosquito nets have been distributed, about 300,000 children die of malaria. Really. According to a work by Dominic Usman, the communication officer for the Benue action, malaria action in Benue, yeah. So, the third speaker, I'll just say one thing, although there are others. He said empowering the leaders of tomorrow. No. If you don't empower the leaders of today, who are, I said it earlier, I believe, who have the responsibility of training the leaders of tomorrow, how can there be any advancement? So I believe I have been able to report them to a level. Thank you.
That telling me about how she lost 3 of her kids to unknown deaths. And now in recent years, when we go together to the hospital, she still always hurt about the fact that if it was in recent years and with the current developments and technologies in hospitals, the lives of our babies would have been saved. This story has shown that in recent years there have been improving health developments, which has helped to reduce mortality generally. On this note, I say good day, Mr. Chairman, panel of judges, accurate timekeeper, members of the press, ladies, gentlemen, and my co-students. My name is Latifa Adilanke Arolu, representing Fountain University, the best private university in Nigeria, according to National Association of Nigerian Students. Population control is a means by which families and governments Population control is a means by which families and governments alter population growth in order to reduce mortality and childbirth. And conscious neglect practically means that the government will sit and watch until diseases such as malaria, HIV, and AIDS plague the country and cause an increase in mortality rates. My arguments will be based on using Nigeria as a case study to show that not neglecting the health sector has helped to control population in many ways, one of which are reduce child and maternal mortality. Among the several states actively involved in reducing child and maternal mortality are Anambra, Kano, Lagos, Jigawa states. In each of these states, there are access to free and fully equipped maternal and child health care services. That is for every pregnant woman and every nursing mothers in these states, there are access to free antenatal care, free drugs, and free vaccines. According to the Nigeria Demographic and Health Survey, the rate of infant mortality have reduced substantially from as much as 100 in every 1,000 cases in 2003 to as low as every 75 cases in 2008, with a target of 30 in every 1,000 cases by the end of 2015. The United Nations Population Fund has also reported that the rate of maternal mortality has decreased on a global scale by half since 1990 to 2013, which does not exclude Nigeria. That has an annual reduction rate of 55 in every 1,000 cases. This statistical progress is attributed to contributions made by Nigeria government to ensure that there is no increase in maternal and child mortality in order to control population. And they've been able to achieve this by providing skilled health personnel, increased health workers to total population ratio, provision of vaccines against yellow fever, rubella, meningitis for infants, provisions of supplements and drugs for both mother and child, such as oxytocin, folic acid, antibiotics to boost immunity and reduce the risk of postpartum bleeding. There's also the provision of emergency response and blood bankings to save the lives of our mothers in order to reduce maternal mortality. You all might wonder why diseases such as polio, meningitis, and yellow fever is not common in the nation. Well, it is because of contributions made by Nigeria governments to control the population by providing fully equipped health workers that move from house to house, even in the sun, to provide us with what we didn't know then were vaccines, thereby saving the lives of you and I. Second point, curtail HIV, AIDS, and other major diseases. Since the first to identify cases of HIV and AIDS in Nigeria in 1985 and was reported in an international AIDS conference in 1986, Nigeria Health Sector has established organizations, notably among which is National Action Committee on AIDS, to fight against HIV and AIDS. HIV prevention, treatment, and care became Nigeria's primary concern, and since its onset, it had made provision for free voluntary counseling and testing service with trained midwives. There had been free infrastructure, such as equipment that reads the viral loads and CD4 counts of carriers. There's also free antiretroviral drugs in HIV testing centers in hospitals to enable carriers live as long as non-carriers without showing the symptoms of the virus. There's also the provision of protectives that prevent the spread of the disease. Because of all these contributions made by Nigeria governments and the awareness, in order to reduce mortality rates from deaths that arise from HIV and AIDS, HIV positive mothers can now deliver their babies in Nigeria without the fear of transmitting the virus to their children. Even HIV carriers now come out through public media to declare their status without being ashamed of being stigmatized. According to the Nigeria Demographic and Health Survey and the United Nations Program on HIV and AIDS, HIV and AIDS in Nigeria have reduced substantially from as much as 5% in 2003 to as low as 4.1% in 2008 to as low as 3.1% in 2012, with a target of 1% by the end of 2015. This is a way to control population, a way to ensure that mortality doesn't occur in Nigeria in order not to stabilize the population. Also, there is tuberculosis, which is another major disease, has been paid particular attention by the Nigeria government by inauguration of multi-drug tuberculosis centers in mega cities in Nigeria, one of which is located at Mainland Hospital, Yaba, Lagos. The establishment of these hospitals symbolize continued progress in the control to fight against multi-drug tuberculosis, with provision of digital X-ray, provision of adequate health workers, BCG vaccine, appropriate antibiotics, and also to educate and inform the public about the mode of transmission and symptoms of tuberculosis. Also for Ebola, when Ebola came into Nigeria, Nigeria government took adequate effective measures to eradicate Ebola when it came into Nigeria on 20th July 2014. Financial aids were released by Nigerian government to tackle the disease. There were quarantine centers were set up, therapies were made available, even temperature monitoring equipment were made available by Nigerian governments in public places such as hospitals, malls, and offices to detect one of the symptoms of Ebola. Because of all these contributions made by Nigeria government, the disease was reduced, contained, and subsequently managed. And on 20th October 2014, Nigeria was certified free of Ebola, as opposed to other countries who had the same crisis, but with more than 2,000 number of death cases, as opposed to Nigeria, who had just 8 number of death cases. In conclusion, not neglecting the health. In conclusion, Benjamin Disraeli said, and I quote, "The health of the people is really the foundation upon which all their happiness and all their powers as a state depends." Not neglecting the health sector is not only the surest way of population control, it is also an effective way of improving the health status of the population. Thank you.
Standing on the existing protocol, my name is Jojayo Olabisi-Godiya, representative of Fountain University, Osogbo. In addition to what my first speaker said concerning the topic, conscious neglect in the health sector is a sure means to population control, which she emphatically opposed. My question is conscious neglect in the health sector a sure means to population control? I'll say a big no to this. There are so many positive factors that can help to control population. It's not necessary to neglect the health sector before we can control the population. We can control the population in so many ways, such as education, awareness, women empowerment, natural disasters, and many among others. Talking on education. Education has made people understand the fact that they can help in the control of population. For example, an educated couples who have the insight of producing or giving birth to children, 3 children at least, within the span of 10 years, has massively contributed to the population control. Talking about women empowerment. Women empowerment, African Women Empowerment Goal, which is AWEG. They found out that in rural areas here in Nigeria, they observed that there is overpopulation of children, especially in the eastern part of Nigeria. This is the case that they also found out that there are some factors that affected these people. Which made them act like that. And there are so many factors, but I will mention one due to time, which is discrimination of gender. Discrimination of gender, that is masculine gender against feminine gender, or feminine gender against masculine gender. Talking about the masculine gender against feminine gender in the eastern part of Nigeria, they believe that the masculine have more force and power than the feminine gender, and they believe they can help them trade and also help them work on farms in order to increase their source of income. That's for the masculine gender against feminine gender. But another part of the western region, they also believe in feminine gender against the masculine gender. Talking about the feminine gender, they believe they can give their hands out in marriage as fast as possible in order to get bad parts in return, which is not good enough for the population control. Because this is not good enough for the population control. With all these facts, this is what HAWEG has looked into, and have decided to enlighten and empower them that so much population doesn't mean they can achieve their aims. Instead, it will diminish it. And it has also made them understand that so little population or control